In November 2007, 4 teachers were given the opportunity of a lifetime.
Absolutely incredible.
A chance to spend a month in Antarctica.
You get up out of your tent in the morning and you've just got this amazing view, beautiful sunshine, mountain range in the background, pretty much white for as far as you can see.
They explored the science.
It's one of the first ever lichens collected at the Henderson Glacier.
And discovered themselves.
At the moment, I'm sort of a bit fed up. There are several things about life in Antarctica which really get on your nerves.
While at home, their students experienced it with them.
I've got a class full of children here. All right. They're dying to speak to you.
This is the story of how they got there and what they brought back for the benefit of themselves and their students. At the beginning of 2006, the Fuchs Foundation, in memory of Sir Vivian Fuchs, the first successful explorer to cross the Antarctic, chose 4 geography and science teachers out of hundreds of candidates to explore the region for themselves.
If you inspire your teachers, which is a very good thing, they inspire their students and everyone around them sees the benefit.
It has taken over a year and a half for each of them to raise over £10,000 in funding for the trip and to prepare themselves for the harsh conditions of Antarctica.
One of my biggest worries was that I'd be falling down a crevasse and I wouldn't be able to get out.
But the trip has a purpose. Each teacher has to undertake a science project which he or she has to conduct in Antarctica and to inspire children back in Britain while they're away and when they return. An acclimatization trip to Norway 2 months before the expedition tested these projects while they camped on a glacier.
We need them to get the science across and deliver it, which they can do in the field.
Then the lucky 4 were flown to Patriot Hills, a base camp in Antarctica, a multinational community 600 miles from the South Pole. It was here they began their 4-week adventure at the bottom of the world.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. Just stepping off the plane, see the mountains behind, and then just that way, just space. It's just absolutely amazing.
Amy Rogers is a secondary school biology teacher from Nuneaton.
I've got a science research background. I did a PhD in zoology, and the reason that I came into teaching was to try and communicate science to pupils and to try and get them more excited about it. And so I thought this opportunity to bring science into the classroom and to be able to communicate science in a fun way is something that really attracted me to the project, and I really wanted to get involved in it.
Ice is freezing to them, look at it.
Their accommodation on the trip is far from luxurious. Amy's tent partner is Ruth Hollinger.
We're going to use our map skills that we have been working on.
Ruth, from Northern Ireland, is a secondary geography teacher based in Sheffield.
I suppose I like sort of things that are a challenge, and certainly there was, I suppose, 2 challenges. There was the challenges of raising the £10,000 to go on the expedition. So there's quite a lot of preparation and fundraising in advance and a lot of training. And then, you know, there's a challenge of actually going and surviving on the ice in Antarctica. So I suppose there's the double appeal of that, really. 9:20 on a Saturday evening. What would you normally be doing at 9:20 on a Saturday evening?
I wouldn't be shoveling snow.
2 hours after arriving, the tents are pitched, and the team are part of the community of Patriot Hills, where they will be staying for a week, acclimatizing and beginning their science projects.
So yeah, it's up, and it's looking quite cosy actually. Quite looking forward to getting in there now.
But the following day, and Antarctica seems a very different place.
We've clocked winds at about 75 kilometres an hour, so we're just really making everything bomb-proof, really. We're talking 5-6 years they're going to be paying taxes.
Phil is a 28-year-old geography teacher from Surrey.
Because it's something that you can hardly imagine, to read it from a textbook doesn't work. To look at pictures on their own doesn't work. How can you talk about the scale of the place, what the weather feels like from a picture? And that if the teacher is trying to teach from that picture or from that textbook, they can't bring that across. So the only way to really get kids fired up about an incredible area for geography, an incredible place to do science, is to go there and come back with the story.
With the bad weather now past and the team settled into their new home, it's time to venture out of the camp for the purposes of study.
I say it's a novel experience for me, being a non-skier, so really looking forward to it.
Ian Richardson is 50 and the oldest member of the team.
There's supposed to be a gene on the Y chromosome that gives you hairy ears.
He teaches biology in Hertfordshire.
Only one X chromosome. Antarctica is an area that's always fascinated me. Extreme environments with the effect of global changes and the impact that they're having, and the way that so many of them are visible in Antarctica, and it's such a sort of barometer for what's going on the rest of the planet. And I really wanted to take the opportunity to go if I could.
Ruth and Phil, what we're aiming for is that toe of that buttress over
Looking after the 4 teachers throughout the expedition is Carolyn Bailey and her assistant Carl Alvey.
Rescheduled to the 22nd.
Meanwhile, back in Britain, Expedition Manager Steve Bull is monitoring the situation overall.
Because of the size of the expedition and what we want to achieve out of it, someone needs to be back here as like a point of contact. So if they've got a decision to make, they'll contact me over the sat phone. It's also there in terms of the emergency point of contact that we're here 24 hours a day, phone, or if we're out and about, mobile.
Also keeping a close eye on the trip is Peter Fuchs, the son of Sir Vivian. He's eager that his father's sense of purpose is adhered to.
And it was always for the science. So he was a scientist first and an explorer second, and only explorer because he was going to the unusual places to do his science.
Ian and his fellow biology teacher Amy are looking for lichens as part of their science projects. These are plant-like algae that grow on rocks. While Ian's project is concerned with the microscopic organisms that live within the lichens, Amy's project is looking for different varieties.
Because they're so tiny and because we're not very familiar with exactly what species we're going to find here, the problem we've got is identification. Different colours on the rocks, different minerals could be lichens. So we've collected a few samples that, because we've got a little bit of doubt, we're going to wait till we get back to camp and have a look at them. And I suspect over the next few weeks another problem is going to be just trying to get our eye in as to exactly what type of habitat you're likely to find them in.
And indeed throughout the first week, wherever they look in their travels around Patriot Hills, they become increasingly frustrated.
I mean, we got to practice with skis, pulling sledges, moving ourselves around safely, getting the camp up and down. But I started to have this horrible feeling that we weren't able to do any proper science that we'd gone out there to do. And I started to sort of twitch and think, am I going to spend the whole month just wandering from place to place, trying to find something?
Well, I suppose that's what this is all about. It's a big learning experience and just learning to get our eye in and whereabouts to look.
Ian and Amy aren't the only ones to find their project a struggle in the first week. Ruth's personal project is the study of a particular type of hole.
I'm looking for a thing called cryconite holes, which is essentially where you get rock blown onto the surface of the glacier. Because it's dark, it causes the ice around it to melt much more quickly. And the argument is as more rock becomes exposed, then the ice, you get this sort of feedback loop where the ice melts much more quickly. The problem in Antarctica is that they're, this time of the year, in November, they're completely frozen over. So from the surface it's quite difficult to tell whether it's just a big lump of rock or whether it's actually smaller fragments of rock, because I think the sort of smaller fragments of rock are of more interest to what I'm looking for.
The training expedition in Norway 2 months previously had given Ruth hope that her project would yield interesting results. But Antarctica shows signs of being less fruitful.
Those crack-coated holes, what you're looking for are snow-free areas. Now, because there's been a snowfall and there hasn't been much wind, there's a light sort of skimmed snow on top, so it makes the holes much harder to see. And then also just because the holes are frozen, you've got to do a lot of digging to get at them rather than just to take the water out. So it's much harder to actually get the crack-coated out of the holes.
You're going to GPS it as well?
Disappointed, she nevertheless records what she finds. The problems experienced by Ian, Amy and Ruth are having a bearing on the results of Phil's project.
Minus 12.4, 0.5 wind chill.
He is in Antarctica to study the relationship between weather and how people are feeling when considering such factors as diet and mental well-being. He gathers information from the others by way of a questionnaire they fill out daily.
This is a mood state questionnaire, and it goes through things like, did I enjoy today's meals? How depressed or happy am I? How lonely am I? How alert? How physically feeling 100%, etc. And then it tries to correlate all those facts and figures with what the temperature was today, what the wind chill was, how many hours sleep I've had, etc. And then we look for patterns.
As well as this psychological study, Phil is also studying the physiological effects of the cold on the human body.
Push on, a little bit more.
For this part of his project, the team underwent a rigorous physical examination at the University of Portsmouth 2 days before they left.
Keep driving, good.
The aim of the next couple of days is to find out what shape the team are in, and that could be in terms of fat, it could be in terms of fitness, in terms of their sensitivity to cold. And we're then going to repeat those tests when we come back and see how our bodies have changed.
There's 4 bars in there.
One thing that's affecting the team's physical well-being is the food. For ease of use, the bulk of it is freeze-dried.
Just added water to the chicken korma and we've left it for 5 minutes, and this is the end result. So let's have a taste. Try not to spill it. Pretty good.
As well as a restricted diet, personal hygiene begins to suffer too.
So I got the tiniest amount of soap and just dabbed it on in the appropriate places, and it felt really good. And that was probably 3 days ago now. And could do with another one. I'm not taking my hat off because it's been 13 days since I've washed my hair, and it's not a pretty sight.
I mean, I'm really amazed and excited to be here, but there are aspects of it which are a bit grim. One of the most tedious is the need to melt snow to make water all the time, so the stoves are going an awful lot so that we can have enough to drink. But on the whole, it's all right. We're all getting on pretty well, and Carl and Carolyn are looking after us brilliantly.
As well as a hot meal, the evenings provide a chance to communicate via the teachers' blogs using a satellite phone and laptop. Their diaries are a vital way to keep their students interested and up to date with the expedition.
It's just quite a nice relaxing thing to do in the evening, actually, just write down what we're doing, and hopefully some kids out there will be reading it as well. And we've had quite a lot of questions and feedback, so I think people are, enjoying reading what we're doing, and lots of supportive messages from people who just saying like keep going. So yeah, it's good, it's going really well. It's nice to have that contact.
Now for breakfast and their drinks in the morning, it takes them about an hour and a half.
Just as important as the blogs is continued involvement with schools by the expedition organisers, who keep the trip fresh in the minds of students.
How cool is that? That's ringing.
Hello?
Ruth!
Steve, hi there.
Hey, I've got a class full of...
And with the help of modern technology, bring the experience into the classroom.
Hi, Rhiannon.
Do you think that lots of people should go to Antarctica, or should it be left alone and kept as it is?
I think, I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity to come to Antarctica and see what it's like. Obviously, we've got to be really careful about any impact that we're having, so we're making sure that we're collecting all our litter. We're even collecting all our, when we go to the toilet, we're collecting our poos, and we've got to bring that back.
And you might think that's a bit disgusting, but
I think it was really reassuring to just hear different voices, and particularly, I suppose, to hear voices of young people and sort of students as well. I found that was sort of quite a big motivating factor, and it sort of lifted my spirits quite a lot. So I thought it was a really important part of the expedition.
However, despite being able to contact schools, they aren't allowed direct contact with their loved ones. If they were to discover bad news from home, and with little chance of returning immediately, their frustrations could place the whole expedition in jeopardy. But this isn't easy on the families back home. Amy's mum hasn't shared her daughter's excitement about going, but at least the blogs have eased her anxieties.
She's not out of my head at all. She's the first thing I was thinking of in the morning, and then before I went to sleep, I'd sort of, send up a little prayer saying, oh, please keep them safe for another day. Because I've been really, really worried. I was worried before she went, and so it's helped.
Amy, I've done the dispatch with a little comments, which you might want to correct if I've done it wrong, and add an image.
Among those concerned about Ian are his 2 teenage children, one of whom left for university at the same time Ian left for Antarctica.
He just feels really, really far away, and I've never not spoken to him for this long at all, because obviously he's a teacher, so I see him every morning and every evening and every holiday, so it's been quite hard. And he doesn't really mention us, I think, on the internet, so I don't feel like I've had any contact with him at all.
With their short travels around the Patriot Hills base camp unsuccessful in generating results for their projects, it's time to up the ante and put their by now considerable experience to the test. The next stage of their expedition will take them to the Henderson Glacier, 40 miles from Patriot Hills base camp, a region more suitable for their projects, but well known for its treacherous weather.
The unanimous response was yes. Yes, bring it on. We have got 23 days out there though, which is quite a long time really. And I suspect people's emotions will do various ups and downs as we go through the next 3 weeks.
Even as they get ready to fly out, Amy's emotions run high.
Yeah, I'm getting quite worried about this now. It's been very nice here this last day, and it's been a nice bit of luxury, and just remembering again, it's going to be pretty hard, I think, over the next few weeks. Never mind. Not much I can do about that now.
And she's got good reason not to look forward to it.
They could be experiencing minus 30, minus 35, minus 40. There's no wildlife, there's no humans. They've been totally on their own for the best part of 3 weeks. In the middle of nowhere.
At that stage, there was the excitement of going to somewhere that was just going to be the 4 of us plus the 2 expedition guides. So I suppose there was different and new challenges from that. So my sort of worries and concerns about the science were really masked by the excitement of flying over a fantastic landscape and something really sort of quite unique.
Probably the most amazing flight I've ever been on. I'm not too worried at this stage. Now seeing it is absolutely beautiful.
We're on our own with the mouthful of snow.
Due to its remoteness, the Henderson Glacier is largely unexplored. Hemmed in by mountains on either side, the team hope that their stay will prove worthwhile. But success comes sooner than they think.
Whilst we were just getting the mess tent ready, Carl and Carolyn went off just to look around the area, and they came back and they said that they'd found something on the rocks which they were pretty sure was lichens. So immediately we just got really excited and we went and had a look straight away. So within a couple of hours of being there, we'd found our first lichen.
It is one of the first ever collected at the Henderson Glacier. It's a beautiful red colour, and it's really exciting to find out what this one might be.
Success for Amy, but also for Ian in his hunt for tardigrades.
Generally, if you find lichens, then 50% of the time you'll find some tardigrades in there. The key thing was finding the lichens and finding the suitable environments. What was intriguing was the microclimatic conditions are very, very critical for whether they can survive in that environment.
2 weeks on the glacier give Ian and Amy much needed samples for their project. However, Ruth is still not discovering any cryoconite holes.
I was looking for sort of blue ice areas, and there weren't many areas that we could see that were, except for, I suppose, a large bit down at the bottom of the glacier, which looked quite close, but in reality it was a 5-kilometre ski away. And then when we had skied all that way, actually there wasn't really that much good stuff there. And again, because there'd been quite a lot of snow, a lot of it was covered over. So again, I sort of was a bit downhearted after that.
With no discoveries for Ruth, and only 14 days left in Antarctica before leaving for Britain, the team face a dilemma. Should they stay on the glacier a little longer, in the hope of Ruth finding something last minute and quickly flying back to Patriot Hills? Or do they begin a longer, planned haul back to camp, with a chance Ruth might find something on the way?
For me, the walk back was really important. I felt that was the thing that students could identify with. They would have seen news clips of people hauling to the pole. They would have heard stories maybe about some of the great expeditions like Scott, Amundsen, and so I wanted to come down on the side of doing the walk to the cost to maybe some of the other science projects. But obviously that was easy for me to say because I didn't have a science project that relied on finding bits and pieces. And as long as people were doing the psychological questionnaires, I was happy.
But Ruth has other ideas of what is important.
I think that, you know, the science for me was really, really important, and I think I would have felt disappointed if I'd have come back and said, well, actually didn't really get any data or didn't collect any information. So for my own sort of personal interest, I was really keen to sort of soldier on with the science, which was difficult when you weren't really finding anything.
With Henderson Glacier not yielding results for Ruth, the team's decision is to walk the 40 miles back to Patriot Hills, via other blue ice areas that could yet prove ideal for her project. The trade-off is, would they make it back in time for their flight out of Antarctica? The first leg is to scale the canyon in which Henderson Glacier sits.
The next couple of days, they're going to be moving the sledges up and relaying all their equipment to the top of the canyon, the height of Ben Nevis. Each teacher's got 80-90 kilos of kit, so they're going to find that really tough.
A couple of days into the trek, and Ruth strikes gold, or rather cryoconite. A small patch of visible ice reveals what she's been looking for the past 2 weeks.
Not completely confident that they're cryoconite. The idea of cryoconite is you get sort of really fine sort of sediment. So I suppose all I can do is just, you know, take it back and see what's what. But I suppose, you know, something was better than nothing at all. So that was really positive. So yeah, all in all, it's been quite a good day.
With a measure of success for the teachers, they still have a 40-mile haul back to Patriot Hills before flying out of Antarctica. 4 days to think back upon their time on the continent.
I'm still struggling to think of the best way to describe it, because even using pictures or video, I don't think it's easy to get across how absolutely amazing Antarctica is. Just like a different planet, just the space that you have here, the cleanness, the purity. It's just absolutely unique, and I am worried about how I'm going to get that across to people when I get back. But I do feel very, very passionately, now that I've been here, now that I've seen it, that it is a place that all of us need to think about and need to try and do our utmost to make sure that it remains in this pristine state in which it is.
They make it back to Patriot Hills in good time and begin the long trip home.
And so finally our little Antarctic expedition comes to an end, and the real challenge begins, which is somehow to try and bring across the incredible nature, the amazing weather and the vast scale of Antarctica to a whole load of students. It's a very tough challenge.
It's really nice to be back. It's been quite a long journey back, but I think everybody's really sort of glad to see friends and family. Get a lot of really dirty washing sorted out.
Smash it. Very good.
Before the teachers can settle back into their usual lives, Phil has to complete his project by finding out how they have all coped with their time in the cold.
Some people's thermal sensitivity has changed, and that means their ability to feel changes in cold or changes in heat. So my fingers are less sensitive than they were, whereas someone like Ruth is much more sensitive than she was. They've found that there's been an increase in weight, and that weight's been put on in fat around the stomach, which looks like the body just trying to beef itself up a bit against the cold.
3 months after the expedition, the teachers gather at the Scott Polar Research Institute to present the results of their projects.
It's a rather lovely rust red one appeared on the Henderson Glacier. It's a Xanthoria variety.
But not only will they have made a contribution to professional research bodies, but also to their own classrooms,
What's going to happen is I've got 4 topics about Antarctica here.
fulfilling the fundamental aims of the expedition: to inspire themselves and their students.
So we had to get a saw. To get these blocks, we've got a saw, we cut them out.
The children simply listen to you differently if you've been there. You know, you are not talking theoretically. If you've actually stood on the continent and experienced the things that you're describing, it's a different relationship with the material. And I think that will make a difference.